With PAC stalwart Professor Sipho Shabalala to talk about the party's disruptions at Mama Sobukwe's funeral, as well as its place in the current democracy.
It was unfortunate that that took place. It was one of those actions and activities by young few guys who sometimes do not know how to utilize their energy, and they do not really consider the importance of such days. And obviously it's competition as to who has to be seen to be doing what exactly, and it is something that definitely as a PAC we are hoping we are going to correct, and we are confident that it's going to be corrected.
But let us just check. If I were to ask you, you are a stalwart of the party, are you embarrassed about what happened?
Yes, definitely. I'll be lying to you to say I'm not embarrassed, because it is something that we had to hope that it was not going to happen. So we were taken by surprise. Sometimes I can say to you that sometimes you will never even know where the stones are coming from, who's actually throwing the stones, so to say, whether it is essentially emanates really from the bosoms of the party, or it is trajectories that are coming from outside trying to destabilize the party. So I'm not trying to get an excuse for that, because some of the actions, they don't tell you that anybody with a rightful mind who has an interest in an organization will act in that particular way. It's only a person or persons who really do not care about the organization that will act in that particular way. And if they do, then there's a question that you can ask yourself: who are they? For whom are they working? For what purpose?
Okay, but Prof, let's talk about Mama Sobukwe. We are sending her off today. South Africa is grappling with a national question, yes. The issue of land. Yes. It has not been addressed. Yes. How do you feel about that?
Yes, Mama Sobukwe and her husband were the Africanist pillars with regard to the complete resolution of the national question. And by that we mean total decolonization of the country, total and empowered self-determination of the decolonized African people. And decolonization here must be accompanied by what we call empowering conditions that are cultural, in such a way that if you are in this country, you can feel culturally this is an African country. If you are in this country, when you are looking at the economy, who controls what in this country, you can say, yeah, I'm in an African country. If you are looking at the map of this country, the names of the places, etc., you can say to yourself, yes, I'm in an African country. If you go around, you see people together, there are things, you will say, if you look at the curriculum at universities and what is taught, you can say, yes, I'm in an African country. That is what we're talking about, the complete transformation of the social order.
Okay. But also, let's look at, you are saying the constitution must be amended because the current setup is not working.
Yes.
Why and how?
You see, we're saying, if you look at the constitution of this country, the areas, for instance, that we're dealing with, was that we would like, instead of people just talking about section 25 of the constitution, we're saying, first and foremost, the constitution must declare that this country is an African country, and with Africans having inalienable rights over their territory and over their land. The starting point. That tells you from there that by the time you move into the issue of exactly land, you already know whose land it is before you can come up and talk about expropriations and the like. That's number one. Number two, the constitution must spell out, we propose that there must be two regimes of property in this country: a common property regime and a private property regime. Within the common property regime, land must belong there, so that it can therefore be taken to be the property of everybody. And every citizen, every African, and by African we mean the indigenous Africans, we mean Africans of Asian origin, we mean African of European origin, so long they acknowledge and they have loyalty to Africa and they are willing to live in equality, culturally, economically, etc., with indigenous Africans.
But Prof, you are saying as the country grapples with the issue of land expropriation without compensation, you are saying the debate is misplaced because it's an economic debate, yet the issue is political.
Yes. When the ANC and the president say we will not do this and that if it's going to affect the performance of food production, the performance of the economy, he is making the issue of land, return of land, restoration of land to the African people as an economic issue. In the same way as I was indicating that during the decolonization period of 1950s and 60s, we were told you cannot go for political independence before you are economically independent. We're saying this is a political issue that must be restored as a political issue. Restorative justice is a political issue. It's never been an economistic issue. And once you have the political power, you utilize that as an instrument to address the issues of the economy, etc.
PAC members, leaders and freedom fighters and others from other political parties have not been widely recognized and honored by the ANC-led government. How do you feel about that?
The issue is that the ANC is partisan. The ANC wants to consider itself as the only liberator. Even in the Defence Force today, we've got APLA members and MK members. But at the same time, when the ANC, for instance, is talking about liberation movement, it does not, even if it invites liberation parties in any meeting, PAC is excluded. Because according to the ANC, we are not a liberation movement. In spite of we were with them, in spite of the fact that our forces are together forming up the defense force of this country. But we understand, it has always been the case. It took us a long time when ANC in the 60s and the like was claiming, for instance, they were responsible for the anti-PAC campaign. It was done by them and the like. They've always been in the position of claiming the exclusionary right of having liberated the people of this country on their own. And they've been hoping that they gain votes and the like on the basis of they are the and the only liberator in this country. And it's unfortunate.
Do you feel aggrieved?
Very aggrieved. Very aggrieved. For instance, as I was saying to you, and I can show you my hand today, is that we were bombed in 1964. The first liberation movement to be bombed by the South African security forces outside the country. It was the PAC in Lesotho. Now, here is me, who went to the hospital unconscious for a long period of time, who stayed in the hospital for 3.5 months and outside the hospital for 1 month. Here is somebody who says, you did not exist. You were not there. But I know I was there. I suffered. How would you not expect me not to be aggrieved? And I have got comrades. We can, if for instance, we could count even the number of people who have been hanged in this country by the secular regime, I'll tell you, you will find that there are more PAC people having been hanged in this country. But again, the ANC will say, no, you did not exist. But now and again, you will hear them, they're exhuming the bodies of the former Polko, the former Apla people. If these people did not exist, how did these bodies come about? Now, this is the ridiculousness sometimes of the partisanship that the ANC sometimes demonstrate.